13.6, apply law of cosines. So the first problems just say, for the given case, tell whether you would use the law of sines or the law of cosines to solve the triangle. So this is going back to whatever notes you had about those. So something like number 4. If we have angle, side, angle, which thing do we use?
Wait, which what do we use?
Which do you use, law of sines or law of cosines?
Law of sines.
Law of sines. And how about side, angle, side?
Cosines.
Yep, law of cosines. And some kind of question like that could come up on the quiz or the test where I say, like, list which ones use the law of sines, which ones use the law of cosines. Now, most of the time when we use the law of cosines, we use it once and then we switch to law of sines, but it's initially what are you using to solve when it asks that. Alright, so I'm going to jump down to one where they give you a triangle, and then we'll move into the ones where where it's not already drawn for you. So number 8, we have triangle ABC, and given information, angle A is 35 degrees, side C is 9, and side B is 7. So we don't know angle B, angle C, or side A. So what scenario is this? Side, angle, side. Okay, so that means law of cosines. So I'm gonna, just to have it in front of us, the formula for law of cosines, I'm just gonna write one, or I'll write the scenario given this one. So we're trying to find side A, so A squared is equal to B squared plus C squared minus 2BC cosine A. So then plugging stuff in, and you can go ahead if you want and do like the square root of it all when you write it, so you don't have to rewrite it. So that's what I'm going to do. So B was 7, so 7 squared plus 9 squared minus 2 times 7 times 9 times the cosine of 35. And make sure, if you're going to type this all into your calculator as one thing, that you put parentheses around that, because otherwise it's just going to subtract the 2 off. Or it might, because your calculator's not always that smart. And again, we'll do nearest whole number, which is much more important for law of cosines than it was for law of sines. Let me go ahead and note over here the stuff we're finding. And then now we have all the sides and we have an angle. So now I can use law of sines to find my other angle, and then I can just use the rules of, whatever to find the other. So I'm going to use, well, obviously A, I have to use A, and then I'll just go in order. I'll do B next. So sine of B, that's what I'm solving for, over 7 is equal to sine of 35 over 5. So I'm going to go ahead and do this in one step. So B is equal to the arc sine of 7 sine of 35 over 5. $53 degrees. And then to find C, I can obviously just do 180 minus 35 minus 53, not 52, hello. What'd you say? 92. So, I mean, you kind of see what I mean. It's not necessarily harder, it's just the math is different.
Yeah.
So, the formulas are a little bit more difficult to know, but what I'll do, I don't know if I mentioned this the other day, but what I usually do if there's formulas, if I don't give you a formula card, then there's one of two things that happen. Either I just let you write them and I'll just check them for you and nothing happens, or I will let you do them for extra credit, and it'll be like a question where you can earn extra credit for getting them right. Or whatever. So that's probably what I'll do. I'll probably go the route of the extra credit and let you write them and then do it that way. And that's kind of the built-in extra credit on this stuff. So since I won't give you like the unit circle for the quiz, that's probably what'll happen on that side. So and I'll do the same thing for the area formula. So basically there'll be 4 formulas, and if you want me to check all of the ones, like if you've manipulated them all, and you'll see in the next problem that we do what I'm talking about, but I will check those as well, but I'll just do 1 point for each formula basically.
So the formula that we just did, that can be changed depending on what we're given, or does that always stay the same?
So yes, so basically there are 4 law of cosines. It can be a squared is equal to b squared plus c squared minus bc cosine a. Or it can be b squared is equal to a squared plus c squared minus ac cosine b. So whatever side you're solving for, the cosine of that angle is going to be here.
Okay. Shouldn't there be a 2 in front of the BC and the AC?
Yes, there should be. And yes, I'll give you a quickie point. C squared is equal to a squared plus b squared minus 2ab cosine c. And then basically, if we were to, I'm going to go ahead and set it up for the next one. So if you were given, let me back up. This is if you're given side, angle, side. Okay. If you were given side, 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 then your formula, I'm going to go ahead and set it up for the next one. So the next one, I'm going to do it for B. So if we were solving for angle B, it would be the arc cosine, and I can show you how we actually get there in a minute if you want to see it. But b squared minus a squared minus c squared divided by negative 2ac would be the formula for it. I'll show you how to get there when we actually do the next problem, but that's basically what it would be. You only need one more. They're going to be like, we need to get another one. Make a mistake. No, not on purpose. It's very rare. Pretty much only in a class like this will I make a mistake because I want to see if they'll catch it.
Yeah.
So occasionally I will intentionally make a mistake so that a class, I'll see if they'll catch that I did something wrong, because that kind of tells me they know what they're doing. that's even with other classes, but a lot of times they're so quiet, they don't want to tell me I did something wrong, so it's fine. Okay, so number 14 is side A is 38, so this one doesn't actually give you a triangle drawn, so you'll just have to draw it yourself. B is equal to 31. What is happening? It's like spazzing. C is equal to 35. Now, quite frankly, if you want to draw the triangle, that's fine. If you don't, that's also okay. I mean, I usually do draw it just to have something visually there, but it doesn't matter. It's not as big of a deal like the ones we were doing yesterday, or not yesterday, 2 days ago, law of sines. So, this is the side case. So, I'm going to back up to, well, hold on. I don't know if I said this in the notes, but when we're doing these problems, we want to solve first for the angle of the smallest side. Okay? Because I don't know if you remember back in geometry where one of the rules is that the smallest angle has to be with the smallest side, and then the largest angle with the largest side, so on and so forth. Okay? If you don't do it this way, then a lot of times what ends up happening is they get all mixed up. Okay? Not that you've done anything mathematically wrong, but it won't, the way the formula comes out, it won't register when you start using, you're going to do law of cosines first, and then you go to do law of sines. Well, it's not going to know, and it gets, like, super messed up. If you're just so ambitious, try it on one of the problems, and you'll see what I'm talking about. Like, it comes out to be super crazy. So always go in order, smallest to largest. So even once we find, that's why I said I was going to do it for angle B. So I'm going to do angle B first using the law of cosines. Then when I switch to law of sines, I'm going to do C next. Then I'm going to solve for A last because it's the biggest one. And if it doesn't come out to be, for some reason it still comes out and the math is messed up, just make a note of, like, I know this isn't possible, but based on how I've done it, this is what I've gotten, kind of thing. Just, like, let me know that you've looked at it.
For finding the last angle, we'll still be able to do, like, 180 minus whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yep. All right, I'm going to go ahead and set up a triangle, and then just to have it A, B, and C. And then side A is 38, side B is 31, side C is 35. And so I'm trying to find each of these angles. So I'm going to start with the original law of cosines formula, show you how to get the other one so you don't have to memorize this, because I'm sure you're like, what in the world? It's way easier if you just solve for it. So we have b squared is equal to a squared plus c squared minus 2ac cosine b. And again, I'm doing this because this is my smallest side. And honestly, like on a test or something, if you forget and you accidentally, do another one, don't feel like you have to erase it and like do the whole thing again. Just tell me I messed up and I forgot, and your process will still be correct. Your angles just won't match up correctly with what they should be, and then that's fine. Sometimes people come up and they're like, I just did all this work and now I did it wrong, and I'm like, it's fine, just make a note of it. So anyways, all right, so I'm solving for angle B. So what I'm going to do is I need to get this by itself, okay? So the way to do that first is to subtract a squared and to subtract c squared. So I'll have b squared minus a squared minus c squared is equal to negative 2ac cosine b. So then this is all being multiplied, so I can divide by this minus 2ac on both sides. So I have b squared minus a squared minus c squared divided by negative 2ac. Then, just so that I don't have to write another step, I can then take the inverse cosine of this, okay? So our arc cosine of all of that will be equal to angle B then. So that's where we get it from. You're just getting the angle by itself, and it's just going step by step to do it. Now, you could initially just plug stuff in and then move it around afterwards. That's okay too. I just usually like to go ahead and get my formula set up. Just because that's the way I was taught, but that doesn't, So now we can plug stuff in. So B is equal to the arc cosine of 31 squared minus 38 squared minus 35 squared divided by negative 2 times 38 times 35. And again, you can type that all in at once if you want, or do it in chunks. But if you're going to type it in all at once, if you don't use the function that lets you type it in as a fraction to begin with, then you're going to need to make sure you put parentheses around this whole bottom part when you do it, because you're dividing by all of that. And you don't want it to just divide the top by negative 2. Also, have I shown y'all before how to actually type in a fraction? Like not using like a division symbol? Okay, let me show you that really quick because it may make your life a little bit easier. Although a lot of times I show classes this and then they're like, nah, it's too difficult. I'm like, okay.
Mine said error when I tried to do it all at once. So it was like, are we doing this one in chunks?
A lot of times I'll do the top and then I'll do the bottom.
Yeah.
But, and it since we're using whole numbers, it doesn't come out like ugly. It usually comes out pretty nice. But, okay, so if you hit alpha and then the y equals button, it brings up these options here. And the first one is n over d, so numerator over denominator. If you hit that, then you can type it in. So then you can do, you're not going to be able to, well, 31 squared minus 38 squared minus 35 squared. You have a question?
Whatever happened to the squared on the 31?
What?
It's there.
It's there. You just can't see it because the light's on.
Oh.
You can see the little corner of it.
Oh. Oh.
I was like, what do you mean what happened to it? It's right there because I'm looking at my screen. I was like, I know I put it there. Hello? But see, then I can do this. And then if I hit enter, it'll just do it automatically for me. And it's going to, I'm going to bring it back over here. It'll give it to you as a fraction. And then you can take, let me check and make sure I'm in the right mode before we go too far. Okay. So then you can do second cosine of second. And then if you hit the negative sign at the bottom of your calculator, that puts up the answer. And so it'll do the inverse cosine of what you already have. So you don't have to like retype it in. And then it'll give you that. So it might be easier to do it that way. Like I said, a lot of times I'll show people that and they're like, that's too hard. Like, okay. Like, and I could have done, if I wanted to, I could have done second cosine alpha y equals and then done that and then typed it all in and it would still do it. I just sometimes like to see what happened here before I do it. So anyways.
So how did you do like the cosine answer thing or like the arc?
So so second cosine is what gives me the cosine to the negative 1, and then second, and then the negative sign at the bottom is the A and S is for answer.
Okay.
And that'll bring it up. And if I wanted to, let me see if it'll let me do it this way. If I, like where I had already typed it in, I just went back and I hit it, but anyways, it'll also let you do it like that. Like I had already typed in the stuff at the top and I was able to just select it again but once you type it in, you might as well just do what I just did with the answer thing. All right, so that tells us that B is 50 degrees. So then I can go to law of sines. My next angle or next side that I want to deal with is C because it's the middle one. So I'm going to do cosine, oh my goodness, sine of C over, what was C, 35 equals sine of 50. I keep wanting to say cosine, but like right sine over 31. So multiply by 35, take the inverse sine. So C is equal to the inverse sine, arc sine, whatever, of 35 sine 50 over 31. $60. And then lastly, we can do A, 180 minus 50 minus 60.
70.
That would be 70 degrees. And so those all ended up obviously like they should in terms of smallest side, smallest angle, and so on and so forth. Okay. Any questions about that one? All right. Let's see. Number 16. Angle B is 63 degrees. Side A is 29. Side C is 38. So again, they don't give me a triangle, but I'm going to set one up myself. So A, B, C. Then we're given angle B is 63 degrees, side A is 29, side C is 38. So then I'm trying to find angle A, angle C, and side B. So again, we've got side, angle, side. Okay, and obviously in this section, that's what we're dealing with. It's either side, angle, side, or side, side, side. But I'm pointing that out because on the test, it's not necessarily going to tell you, you know, oh, hello, this is law of cosines, like this section is. Obviously, you're going to have to recognize that, so that's why I'm pointing that out. So it's a side, angle, side problem. So I need to solve for side B first, and then I have information that I can switch to law of sines. So B is equal to, and again, it's B squared is equal to blah, 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 but I'm going to just take the square root of it. So the square root of A squared plus C squared minus 2AC cosine B. So then you can just plug stuff in. So this is equal to the square root of 29 squared plus 38 squared minus 2 times 29 times 38 times the cosine of 63. So I would still say, just to get in the habit, whatever the next, obviously that ends up being the middle side, and it should be what the middle angle is. So I would do A next because it should be the smallest one. At this point it should be fine, but just to stay in the habit of just do the smallest one first. So then we would have sine of A over 29 is equal to the sine of 63 over 36. That's confusing. I was like about to write the numbers backwards. Okay. So A is equal to, hello, that's not an equal sign. The inverse sine of 29 sine of 63 over 36. 46. Okay. No, I was just asking. I thought at first she said 36, but I looked at my paper and saw that it said 46. I was like, okay, she probably said 46. All right, so I'm going to write down the stuff that we were finding because I didn't do that yet. So it's 36. This is 46 degrees. So that's good because that's smaller than 63. So then lastly, 180 minus 46 minus 63. Cool. Any questions? Do we feel like we need to see another one, or are we okay and want to try them? And if we need to go over some more tomorrow, I'll go over some more.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So can y'all tell me again what problems you had yesterday?
25, 29, and 31.
25, 29, and 31. Okay. So then what I want you to do is 3, 5, and 7. And those ones are just the ones of telling if it's law of sines or law of cosines. And then as far as actually the triangle ones, 11, 13, and 17. And that should be, let's see. Okay, good. So that gives both kinds, or both scenarios. And like I said, tomorrow you'll also have time in class to work on them. So don't be like, oh my goodness, I'm taking this home to do this or whatever. Like we'll work on them tomorrow. And then that way if y'all have questions as you go, you can ask. So.